Hey everybody, welcome. It's Karen here coming from my craft room. And what I want to share with you today is this cute 3D tree made from cardstock that I did for this holiday season. This is a great decoration, but it also doubles as a treat holder. You guys know I like to do my treat holders out of paper, so I am going to show you how to make this. I will also have directions on how to do this on my blog, as well as a downloadable PDF with them, and I will explain more as we go. But I did a couple different variations with this. So this one, I did some fringed rings of the tree leaves on it. That's one. This one I had some fun with, and I don't really know how well it's going to show up on camera. This one I just did plain, but I poked some holes inside it so that you could see a tea light flickering through the holes. I wish I could, which would show up better on camera, but it doesn't really. And then my other variation I did was using patterned paper for my layers of the leaves, the fringed leaves. So these are the three versions I have, and I'll show you how to make this base version today. So to do this, you're going to need 2 pieces of paper. One should be a piece of good strong cardstock. The other should be a could be a pattern paper piece, or it could be, again, cardstock, the same. What you're going to also need to have on hand is your mat, a 12-inch trimmer, a scoring tool, some fringe scissors, irregular scissors, a good strong adhesive, like I love our adhesive tape, and I added a little bit of extra stability with this wood disc I got at a local craft store. And I also, now I cut my circles with this with a cutting system I've had in my stash for quite a while, but I will also include a link to a Cricut Design Studio file that uses the Design Studio shapes. So they're free shapes. So I will send the link. It will be on the blog post and included in the PDF, so that if you want to cut it on your Cricut, you can definitely do that. So I'll just kind of walk you through the steps. So from the first piece of cardstock, what you're going to cut is going to be I'll kind of show you from this, an 11¼ inch circle. I can show you, since our two-tone cardstock makes it easy to see kind of the differences between the two papers. So your 11¼ inch circle, you're going to then cut it in half to 2 half circles. This half circle is going to be your cone. So you're going to put this aside. Then this other half circle, what I did is I had I cut a 6¼ inch circle out of some scrap cardstock, and I traced that on here and then cut it out. So I have my ring. This ring becomes the base of your tree, which you can put the treats in, or your tea lights. Then from the piece I cut out, I cut a 3-inch circle. This is going to cover the bottom of the base. So, and this piece here is just scrap. So from the other piece of cardstock, again, you could use pattern paper, and I'll do this by kind of flipping around my circles so you can kind of see the differences, is I cut another 11¼ inch circle, but then I cut 2 ringed circles inside it. This centerpiece here is scrap, so you can put that aside. These 2 rings are roughly 1¼ inch in width. So these are what's going to become our fringed pieces that are going to go up and around the tree. So let's start with our base. So to create the base, I took my scoring tool and I scored about 1/2 inch from the edge, and I did it kind of freehand, so mine's a little messy, but that's all right, because it gets covered up, around from the edge, scored around. And then I took my scissors and I cut notches all up the side. So this is kind of what it looks like. So I folded in along my scoring edge, and I cut my notches, because of course when you're working with circles, notching really helps the paper to adhere better to the circle. So that's the base. Then what I'm going to do is adhere it to this circle. I took some of our tape and on the back of the circle piece. And I'm just going to peel off the adhesive cover if I can. Of course, I'm always seem to be doing these things when my nails aren't in their best condition. I always seem to have broken nails and can't quite get the edge of the adhesive. All right, bear with me. Sometimes I have to press it down a little bit. That's one thing with this tape. Sometimes the backing does not want to come off. There we go. Take it from the other end. So I'll take off my backing. So what I'm going to do, and I put an extra piece of tape here because this is where we're going to finish off the base. So I'm going to take my circle and working my way around, adhere my tabs, my notched tabs along the bottom to that tape. So I'm going to work my way around, and I'm just going to kind of keep pressing. And it's okay if it doesn't have to be perfectly round, perfectly circled. You know, this is where we can have some fun with what we create. And there will be extra, and I'll show you what we're going to do with it once we get to that point. So before I get to that point, I am going to take this backing off of this piece. And then once we get here, I'm going to adhere that over, and then I'm going to line it up and adhere. Just get this a little bit better lined up. It's not going to cooperate with me. That's better. There we go. So, and then I'm going to just take my scissors and I'm going to cut off my excess. So I'm going to get rid of that. Now you will have a few of the tabs that aren't adhered, especially where they're on paper. So I'm just going to take a little piece of my tape, and if I can find the edge of it, there we go. Put it down underneath to adhere those tabs down. Pull off the backing. Come on. Cooperate with me. There we go. Those backings tend to be a little staticky. So, and then there's the base with the edge, and you can always add a little bit more tape if you find it, or cut it closer. I like to kind of run it around to just kind of really burnish the adhesive onto it. So there's the bottom. Now we're going to take our 3-inch circle, and I already put some adhesive tape on the back of this. Just get to the edge of it so I can remove the cover. There we go. And then this is going to go on there just to kind of clean it up. And again, I kind of rubbed it around on my work surface to kind of get it to adhere a little bit better. So there's my base. This is what you could put candies in, gift cards, money, rolled up some money, anything like that. So I'm just going to put that aside for now. Now, your cone. What I found works best, because you really want this to be as tight as possible on this piece, is I kind of take the paper and I work it around tightly to the base as I can. So I'm going to kind of, and I keep the base flat on my work surface. So I'm going to work my way around until I kind of get it. I want to know that it's nice and kind of tight, and I kind of like how that looks. So then I'll open it up, and curling it helps it to adhere better. So now I'm going to take a piece of the tape and put it along this edge here, because that's my top edge. And this one, I'm actually going to put a couple pieces. I find sometimes it just add a little bit of extra adhesion to what I'm working with. So just this tape does better when you burnish it down before you try to pull off the cover. Yep, that time it worked well for me. See? All right, get this. And again, putting it together is, again, holding it tight to the base, as tight as you can get it, and wrapping it around until you get to your adhesive. And there's my cone. How's that look? Now, what I definitely like to do is kind of rub my fingers on the inside. I want to get you can use a bone folder for this, kind of rub your seam on the inside. But there's my basic, the base and the cone. Now we're going to look at the fringe. So what we're going to do with these two rings is we're going to use our fringe scissors and cut fringe all around the rings, and then cut the ring open. And so I just go around each one. Give yourself about at least 1/4 of an inch away from the inner edge, so that you can, because on the back side of this, you're going to be putting your adhesive. So I've already done one of the rings. It's all fringed up around to the edge. And then I'm just going to finish off this one. Just got a small little piece here. So I'm going to use my fringe scissors, work my way. See, I'm giving myself about 1/4 of an inch. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my scissors and cut my ring open. And then on the back side of both, I put my tape. So I'm going to start with the larger ring, peel off my backing, because, you know, when we look at trees, we typically see the fact that there's a little bit larger leaves towards the bottom of the tree. And then as you get to the taller, everything gets tighter and the branches get closer together, whereas they're a little further apart at the bottom. Come on, this doesn't want to cooperate. Here we go. Now, just be careful, because this is very sticky tape, and I have messed up and had it stick to each other. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on the back side, on my seam, and I'm going to start close to the bottom. Green on green, it's a little tough to see, but hopefully you guys can see this. And I'm going to start to wrap this around. Now it's going to naturally curve around the cone, so that by the time you reach where you started, you're going to be slightly above your bottom, your layer below. So, and it's good. It's going to give you about 1/4 of an inch or so around. And how many rings you need really will depend on how tightly and how close together your layers are, you know. So if you're putting them really close together, you may need an extra ring. And we had this circle that we had left over from the center. You can always cut another ring and fringe another ring around. That's not a problem. This is going to be completely up to you. So I've got my first ring around it. Now I'm going to take my second one. Pull the backing off if I can, if it's going to cooperate. Sometimes I have to just burnish it down a little bit. There we go. Just a tiny bit here. Okay. So I'm going to start this end, where I kind of finished my last one. And then I'm going to work my way around again. And this should take me to the top. I've been using about 2 rings for the samples that I've been doing so far. And like I said, how many rings you use really depends on how tightly you put your overlaps together. And the nice thing about this is you could take these fringed leaves and you could do some extra fun stuff with it. You could ink the edges to give them more of a definition, or you could curl up the edges with a tool. Now I've got a lot of extra here, so I'm actually going to cut this off. I don't need this extra. This is going to be some scrap. And there is my tree and my base. Now what's really left with this is decorating it. What I did is I cut from glitter cards, glitter paper, or gold glitter paper. I cut 2 stars, put them on a toothpick so that I can insert this in the very top of the cone. So that's one thing I did. Then, like I did on this tree, I took some gold embellishing thread, wrapped it around, And then I also, another good thing to use that you could use enamel dots like the gems. What I use is the Christmas red stickles, and I just dotted them all around the different layers. You know, we've got gold. There's so many different colors, and one of the things about this is you could work this to work with your decor if you want to do it as a decoration for the holidays or gifts or whatever you want to do with it. But there is your finished tree, treat holder, gift holder, whatever you want to have from it. I will make sure I've got links to my blog post and with the directions and the PDF for you. And I hope you guys enjoy this, and I hope you have a wonderful holiday season. Thank you so much for joining me.